trip to Jamaica with bright, shiny moves like that. How is everybody doing? Welcome aboard the Soul Train. You have tuned in to our favorite Thursday event, what we all know and love cheerfully, gleefully as Thirsty Thursday. A little awkward silence there. I used to do that all the time, and it's been a minute since I've done that, so I thought I would go ahead and do it again. We have an extra star-studded special guest of lineups today, and it begins with our new favorite pal, the man of interesting photoshops that are actually completed in Microsoft Paint like a real OG graphic designer, hails from California, resides in Alabama, I almost said Mississippi. Everybody give a warm round of applause for your friend and mine, Lawn Burgundy. Welcome, sir. Glad you're here. We are not going to use your real name, so don't worry about that. Nobody can remember your real name anyway. We tried to dox you leading up to the show, but everybody grew weary or tired of attempting to dox you. And Gibby wasn't on to be able to do his magical IP unlocking things or whatever that he ends up doing. So I'm sure you're behind a VPN and all that fun stuff anyway, and it just would have led to nowhere. But thank you for taking time out of your day to come on and spend the evening with us, the Degenerates.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. And along with Lawn Burgundy, we also have our other two pals. And it begins with Ray Ito. Ray, how are you, sir?
Well, still around. How's that?
That is good. Ray was not executed by the over-aggressive Hawaiian police, and that is a callback to the Burn and Return podcast we recorded. And one of the great lines from that was, did swatting originate in Hawaii? And that was by our great friend Ryan DeMay. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Matt. And, I can't say that swatting initiated or started here in Ohio. What I can tell you is that you're wearing your Tennessee shirt tonight. I'm really excited. Hoping to see, I'm hoping to see Tennessee at least go 500 this year. You got me jazzed with the squares there. I'm really excited.
Look, if we go 500, I'm gonna. Well, I'm already making preseason bets that we're gonna win the national championship, and I'm setting myself up for so much pain, like I do every year.
We gotta see here what the odds are. I'll let you know. You keep talking.
Oh yeah. If they win the national championship, I'll retire. Such a poor team and such poor effort over the last few handful of years there. God bless Jeremy Pruitt, because man, was that a wild ride. If there was ever one to be a hold of a horse on, that was it. But I thought I'd bust it out and represent a little bit. Go Vols. University of Texas, and who was the other one? They can suck
Oklahoma.
Yeah, Oklahoma. Yeah. Bye-bye.
They're not real.
Bye-bye.
Not real.
Yeah, we're an exclusive group, and we're the only orange that's allowed in here. We were founded before University of Texas, and I don't know if they forgot, but they should remember the Alamo, because if it wasn't for Tennessee, they wouldn't be here. And that's all. All right, never mind. Where are we going?
Davy Crockett. We got it.
This is a terrible start to the show.
No, it's not. We're just riffing here. We're riffing. What? Okay. So this guy, right? This Lawn Burgundy, and we said instead of using real names, we would just randomly make up a name for you every time we said something to you. So I might call you Keith. Ray might call you Fred. Whatever, but we'll try and stick with Lawn Burgundy if we can here. How did you get to the point where you're on our little lawn Discord server and talking to a bunch of grass-growing lawn degenerates like us to begin with, and then how did you ascend so far in that hierarchy that you are now sitting here talking to us on the YouTubes? Tell us about your lawn care journey and how it got started.
Oh, well, probably just like a lot of people, started to get an interest in it and doing it myself. Never wanted to pay somebody to do it for me. Never really knew what I had at the last home as far as grass type. Never really cared. Always hated mowing. Then I just started seeing it as a good therapy to get out there and thought as a challenge to understand how to control it and grow it well and grow it right. And heard about, real mowing and found the TLF forum and all that, and which led me to the Discord as well. And met you guys and just hung out and was an idiot most of the time. And that's where I'm at, really.
What a beautiful intro there. I gotta say, and big shout out, and I want to plug them again later in the show too. Shout out to the Lawn Forum. I enjoy the Lawn Forum. It's a different breed of human beings. I bet if you polled the 50% line of that place, what percentage works in either IT or engineering on the Lawn Forum? And the Discord is a direct representation of that too. You can go to thelawn.discord.com and check out what we're talking about. That's the Lawn Forum Discord, and it's also that is like the fun place to hang out. So if you want to fight with somebody, or you want to complain about your spouse, or you want to complain about getting in trouble for spending $1,300 something lawn related that you shouldn't have spent, because you have that kind of disposable income, then the Lawn Forum Discord is for you, and you'll fit right in with everybody there. But I would say, much like the Discord is definitely 70%, 65, 70% IT engineering, STEM related field. Would anybody disagree with that?
No, I wouldn't.
No, I think we all want to know the why, and that's why we come here to understand more about the why, other than just, hey, just throw this out and it'll work. Just throw this down and that'll work, or just do this. Like, well, why? How does it work? What makes it work? What gets us
Ray,
to the next level of understanding?
It works through
what do we
based. Never mind. Go ahead.
what do we
Brian.
what
Shut up.
what do we call that? Faith-based agronomy.
Faith-
What do we call that, Ray?
faith-based-
What's our saying?
Buy my shit. Buy my shit. I mean, that's you can't condense it down any more directly. Buy my shit. Pray that it works, and if not that, we're also here to break through decades of lawn dogma. Okay, we're here to break through that, and because I have a saying, if it didn't work before, what makes you think that you doing more of it now is going to make it better or work better?
Hey, if some is good, more is gooder, right?
That's right.
That's what they'll tell you.
That's what they say on the Discord. More is gooder. I mean, I got to remember that. More is gooder.
Yeah, and so I appreciate that about the IT folks and you, Lawn Burgundy, because asking the why is important. And be honest, and I know Matt always talks about it when he does his lawn care help desk. I know Ray and I have said it. There's shit that we flat out don't know, and we'll man up and say it if we don't. But a lot of times, it's not even. I'm sure it's the same way in IT. It's not necessarily knowing the right answer at that instant. It is one, knowing where to look, who to ask, what your sources and resources are to chase those down, and then just having, the gumption, if you will, to go chase it down. Right. I think that's the thing I've always found in lawn care and turf management and everything like that, is that there's always a point where you can say, hey, that's good enough. I'm good. That's enough information. That's enough studies, research, product information, enough work, right? And I'm done. That's all I want to do, and that's all the further I want to go. And that is kind of the good thing about it, is you can still get to a good stopping point and be satisfied with it. So that's I guess maybe more so than IT, because it either works or it doesn't, right? But go ahead, Matt. Go.
Well, I was just going to say, and I think that parlays into tonight, that hopefully any kind of questions you put in front of us, that if we can't give you an answer, we can at least give you a starting point or somewhere where you get to scratch the back of your eyeballs to or drive some interest into learning more about a particular topic or something. Hopefully, we don't go about this just telling you what to do without any kind of reasonable explanation on why to do it. I don't think that's the objective of any of this, right? It's always to provide sound agronomic advice at the backing of a solid source to co-sign or bullshit, so to speak. I've been using a lot
I was
of
going to say it's
AA phrases here lately. I don't know why I keep doing that. I think co-sign my bullshit came from AA too. I don't know.
Yeah, I was just going to say, the way that you just said of having somebody tell you exactly what to do and how to do it without any reasonable explanation. You can go, there's a website, it's www, it starts with a Y and ends with a Y, and it's not You're a Pussy, but it's pretty close. So, you can check that out if you want to. But anyhow, let's talk a little bit about the...
That's how we get in trouble on the lawn forum. That's how we get in trouble on the lawn forum.
Hey, 2 demerits for DeMay. All right, fine. Whatever. Hey, I'm just saying it how it is, folks. If you don't like it,
John,
I'm sorry.
John Ware's going to DM me later tonight, and he's going to be like, why is everybody so mad at you? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't do anything.
Send him to the comment box. All right, so talk about the products you're using right now, the issues you're facing today, and how long you've been in Huntsville, like what, or in that area. I think you're in Northern Alabama, or you're somewhere in that vicinity, I think.
Yeah,
because you're not down in like Mobile where it's like real hot and real disgusting.
I'm not in the swamp right now. No, I'm in Northern Alabama near our resident rocket scientist. I've been in the area about 6 years, I believe. And I came out here for work. My company actually moved me out here, and we just moved into the house that I'm at in September of 2019. And the contractors put down sod for us, and I saw it as a really good opportunity to jump in and learn and try to keep it really nice as quickly as I could. So, the first year it was all rotary with the Husqvarna and push mower, and then I got on the lawn forum and jumped in and got myself a True Cut. And then I jumped in and got a Toro just recently, and just went down to basically Montgomery and got that from one of our other members on there as well. So it escalated pretty quickly.
I was gonna say this is like that's pretty quick. Did so one of the issues that most people face here, and Matt talked about it, is some of the political capital that gets expended to do this stuff. Was there anybody in the house that was concerned with the escalation in your lawn care behavior?
No, the wife's actually 100% behind it. She likes it. She thinks it looks great. She likes having a really good looking lawn. We've always kind of been together on the fact that we buy what we want. We like what we have. We don't really buy each other gifts because we just go get what we want anyway. As long as it's within reason and we have a conversation about it, there's really no issue there. And one of the big ways that I was able to overcome it was, the cost of actual products to put down. I got a $12 bag of Rural King 12-12-12 that I'm using right now. It's not the greatest ferret in the world, but it's enough to get me, the half a pound of nitrogen per application. And I've got a little bit of the equalizer. What was it? 18-18-18. I got some of that. I got some feature. I got a few of those items, and then I've also got sprayable ammonium sulfate, and my only real two to three chemicals right now are sulfentrazone, quinclorac, and then I have some 2,4-D. And that's pretty much all I have right now as far as that, plus the pre-emergent prodiamine, which I did a rounding error and put down my yearly max in one application last year. I learned a lot from that.
Ooh.
Yep.
Oh.
Ooh.
Oh.
That's a heck of a rounding error.
Yikes.
Yeah, you know,
Man.
math isn't my best subject, but yet I'm an engineer, so go figure, right?
That is so unfortunate. The old engineers
that's
that don't do math.
don't do math. That's like I knew a
The
guy
two
once
big
that,
over application errors that I'm familiar with were both engineers.
yeah,
The other one being Brian
who was on here
with
before.
the 10x rate of metsulfuron methyl.
I wonder how that tree's doing nowadays. Didn't
It's falling
look good.
apart if you're not aware. He is continuing to lose major leads out of that thing, and he's like, I think it's okay now. Like, really? You just lost a 6,000-pound branch out of that tree. Are you sure it's okay?
Thankfully,
the damn
in this
thing
case-
down.
Thankfully, in this case, it's just grass and it'll grow back. Unfortunately, not so much with the tree. Yeah, that's not a
And
not
that,
not
and
gonna
that's
be
his and that's his wife's favorite tree, so that caused even more tension. Otherwise, I'd have told Brian, maybe it's time for the tree to have a little accident.
good. Yeah, you did, like you said, gifts within reason. You go out there, you buy her a Land Rover, and you cut the tree down while she's at the dealership picking out the color. It seems fair to me, right? So,
Yep.
you know, if you're looking for a way out, I think that's good. I think we got to apply some of the Lawn Burgundy lessons here of gifts within reason. But you know, while you're out doing some of those errands, I might make it go away. So, hey, whatever. I didn't see too many tree issues in those photos that we just looked at, and I thought the grass looked pretty good. What cultivar are you working with down there?
It's common Bermuda.
Oh yeah, that looks pretty good for common
Oh,
Bermuda
yeah.
in Alabama. Look at that.
You know
That's
what?
stellar.
It is not the cultivar of Bermuda. It is the maintenance and the management that makes it happen. I mean, that's kind of why I, at some point in time, start rolling my eyes when people fetishize, various cultivars of grass, because it don't matter unless your maintenance practices are all there. And man, with the GM 1000 series, it's obvious that his maintenance practices are there. Okay, it's obvious.
All right. So, what we're saying here now is that a hat's not going to be good enough. A shirt, nothing like that. We need to get Ray a custom-made El Toro Zoysia belt buckle for Christmas. We have
to
do it. We'll figure it out, Ryan.
How would you compare the GM 1000 versus your Cal trimmer?
I'm anxious to hear this.
Or True Cut.
Versus the True Cut.
Yeah.
Well, there were things I liked about the True Cut, right? It was the finger clutch, the finger push. It was nice and easy. I could throttle it. I could clutch it around the trees. Because in one of those pictures, you see it's all mulched all the way around. And that was this year. We actually pulled out like 3,000 square feet of sod around the trees and the fence line because I was tired of going around that with the mower and running against the fence. And it just took 4 times longer than it should have to mow the lawn. So I said, no, we're done. I saw cut it out. Bed redefined it. And we only found the one color of mulch that the wife liked. It was in a bag. So we did 350 bags worth of mulch and hand threw them all out and dropped them in. Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
But, we figured, we're doing it ourselves. We're going to still save, thousands of dollars not paying a landscaper for it. So that's why we went
I just
that route.
admire
Most
everybody's
definitely.
energy. I am so jealous of your ambition and energy and desire. Wow, that is something to say. I mean, that is special. Good for you.
Well, her in-laws were in town, and her father helped me for most of that. He had the truck and everything. I'm not fitting that in my little station wagon, that's for sure.
regardless, if my in-laws were in town, I would be like, "You go get the tequila. We're gonna go sit on the back deck and just drink the entire bottle." Okay, all right.
Yeah.
They'd be like, "Don't you have some project? Don't you have a mulch project to do?" I'm like, no. We're doing tequila.
Well, we definitely drank afterward.
Good.
The project is called "Kill the Bottle." Okay, Matt, that's your project. Kill
Yeah,
the bottle.
yeah.
With a little help. With a little help.
I'm trying not to feel feelings anymore here. Okay, whatever the quickest path is to there is the direction I'm going.
But as far as like the True Cut goes, it was a nice machine. It was a good introduction into real mowing. I've got a manual push one, and that with 10,000 square feet of lawn left, out of the 13 that I had, it's pretty impractical to utilize that on a daily or a weekly basis. So the True Cut was good. The one thing is I didn't like about it was very loud because of all the chains. It was a grease hog. It would, once you topped it off, it would drop little grease droppings all over, and I'd have little dead spots everywhere. And the adjustment for the reel to bed knife to get it to cut right was just hard to get right, and it was frustrating to all hell. Doing those 3 bolts on each side, and that lobe system, and it's just not an intuitive design for a homeowner there. So with the GM, it's nice because it's the really quick clicks for the adjustments there. The height adjustment's pretty simple on that as well. Obviously not as simple as a lever like cow trimmers and True Cuts have, but that was nice on the True Cut to be able to just lift it up and go to the backyard and cut it at 1 inch versus the front, which I had at 3/4 of an inch. I could easily adjust that, so I kind of forced myself into making it one height across both now with the GM 1000. So, but the GM 1000 is nice and quiet. The wife doesn't even hear me mowing anymore, so she likes that. It's been a good experience, moving up. The one thing I do need to do though is it's got an 11 blade reel. I'm probably way too high right now at 3/4 of an inch for an 11 blade reel, so I do need to get down to probably an 8 blade and probably a what did you call it, Ray? A cut kit or a
It's
Clip
called
kit.
a clip kit.
clip kit? Yeah.
The clip kit. And
So I'll probably end up doing that at some point.
and by the way, Lawn Burgundy, that's where I actually have an objection to the True Cuts, in that if somebody doesn't have their engine speed right when they're running that True Cut, it's very possible for that True Cut to overspeed the reel and run into the same issues that you would have with, say, 11 blades on a GM 1000 and no clip kit. It's because the rotational speed of the reel determines how much grass you cut versus how much grass you miss. It's very possible to have the reel spinning so fast that you actually miss a lot of grass while you're going over it. And I saw that for myself back in 2013 when I bought my GM 1000.
Ray, why don't you talk about that real quick in terms of, for the folks that are, and maybe this is, I mean, clearly Lawn Burgundy's figuring this out right now of why the 11 blade just doesn't work. But regardless of engine speed, which the GM 1000 and the manual, I can't remember what it is. It's like 2600 maybe. I have to go back and look. But there's an RPM that's supposed to be tuned to at high idle, so that reel will spin at the proper speed. But can you just explain to the folks at home what frequency of clip is, why reel, the number of blades on a reel matter, right? And then how that reacts in relation to both warm and cool season grasses, because it can be a little bit different there of which can tolerate the other better.
Okay, for your frequency of cut, what that refers to is how many cuts per inch that reel takes out of the grass. And there's two factors that influence that frequency of cut. Number one is the number of blades on the reel. Like a lot of people have heard me say that if you're mowing at higher than, say, green height, you really should be using a reel that has 8 or fewer blades, because what that does is that reduces the number of cuts per inch that the reel is taking. The second factor that goes into frequency of cut, of course, is rotational speed of the reel, like how many RPM that reel is turning in relation to the travel speed. Now, for a lot of their mowers, that's not adjustable. However, for the Toro Greensmaster series, they provide a very nice way to adjust that so that the mower is more appropriate for, say, higher cut cool season grasses, for example, because they offer an accessory called a clip kit. And what a clip kit is you replace the drive pulleys for the reel, and that pulley set deliberately reduces the rotational speed of the reel. So Ryan, if you have a clip kit attached to a GM 1000 and you have an 8-blade reel, your allowable, optimal height of cut is then 0.35. If you have an 8-blade, an 11-blade reel, I believe that goes up to, with the clip kit, approximately 0.3 inches. But that's all because that clip kit drastically reduces rotational speed. The other good feature about that clip kit that is beneficial to those of us maintaining lawns at home and residential turf, and we're not mowing every day or twice a day, is that guess what happens when you lower the reel rotational speed? All things the same on that mower. You drastically increase the torque of the reel, so that me chopping down, overgrown zoysia, the GM 1000 handles it. Say you are late mowing your Bermuda, a little bit late, and it's a little bit, on the furry side. That clip kit will enable you to power through it, no issues. And that will, be an example of, what is that favorite saying on the internet right now? A hard cut. That's my idea of a hard cut. Is, say you let your Bermuda get away from you, and it's about 1.5 inches right now. Knock that son of a gun back down to 1/2 inch. Go. That's a hard cut.
Jeez, that's pretty intense, and that's the thing that I think people automatically assume is a real mower is a real mower is a real mower, and that's just simply not the case. There's a lot of setup involved and intricacies, and I'm sure Lawn Burgundy, you said that you kind of looked at that on the True Cut and looked at that system, and how I'd agree with you. I've never owned one, but I've seen it enough to know that it's not the most intuitive thing. And then you get on a Greensmaster 1000 or like the John Deere, the QA5 and the QA7 reel setup. It's a dream to set those up. There's really not much to it because there shouldn't be. And I think that just provides a more uniform cut. And I think that's probably the most important thing when you talk about reel mowing, from day to day, from setup, and from your annual maintenance that you're going to do it in terms of grinding, replacing bed knives, all that kind of thing. It's just consistency. Ray, would you agree that just the consistency of it is what most folks are after? I think a lot of people push too far and like, how low can I go, or all this other stuff. And it's like, that's not really what you're after here. You're at establishing a level height of cut across the entire surface that's uniform and consistent, in my mind. You agree or disagree?
Yes, totally agree. And I'm also after what I call uniform density of the turf. And that's why, for example, I'm kind of a, anal retentive nutcase about people that have automatic irrigation. I want that automatic irrigation to have as high as possible of a distribution uniformity so that we don't have areas that go ape on you versus other areas that are thin and dry and about ready to blow away in the summer. It's all
Separate,
about
whole separate
keeping
thing,
it,
right? But it is consistent.
consistent. You got to maintain consistency, and consistency includes growth of the grass as well. Because when you're reel mowing, you will quickly find out about areas that get overgrown faster than the rest of the lawn.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in a warm season grass like Bermuda or Zoysia or any of the other real cut, warm season turf, you'll find out real fast about the areas that are growing differently versus the rest of the lawn.
What have you seen in terms of that in Lawn Burgundy and trying to, I guess, bring your lawn to be consistent? I mean, what are some of the issues you faced here in the last, little bit that you've been there at the house? And, what are some of those looming issues that maybe you haven't taken care of yet, or are looking forward to diving into a little bit more deeply, whether it be this year or next year?
Mainly the levelness of the lawn. So when they laid the sod, they laid it in those giant rolls. And they left all the plastic underneath, and there were sections where they left a good 1.5 foot gap in between. So there's huge divots and huge issues. Yeah, it was horrible. I can probably pull up a picture
Wait,
and send it to JP. But
oh man,
He
I'm
needs
not going
more
to call him out,
sand.
but
yeah, and that's one of the
I mean,
things
you
that I'm
always need
looking
more
to.
sand.
And right now we've had this really strange season where we've had just weeks and weeks and weeks of rain, in the middle of the summer. And I just started a PGR program. This is one of the things that I wanted to ask you guys is I put in PGR. I was seeing the telltale signs of the webbing for the dollar spot. So I knew the grass wasn't able to grow out of it quickly, and then boom, a couple weeks in, and I have this. I have this in certain areas of the lawn and certain areas of the front and everywhere. So to me, it looks like dollar spot. And then I sent J Pink another little picture of that grass up close up, and that's the best I could find as far as like lesions on things close. But I pulled on the dead stuff, and the top layer just flies off. But there is still roots down there, so I know that it's not grubs underneath growing and eating away stuff. So the best thing I could think of is that it's dollar spot, and it's just gotta let fertilize it and let it grow out.
Yeah, I mean it does look like pretty typical dollar spot. The only other thing it really could be this time of year would be like a scotched leaf blight or something bizarre like that, but it would have a different pattern to it. Unless you had, well, you're in Alabama, so mole crickets come into play, but that has a totally different aesthetic too. So I'm definitely at the dollar spot angle on this. And weeks of rain and all that fun stuff, it totally could be multi-symptomal, right? So you could be dealing with a little bit of a leaf spot as well.
Helminthosporium, Matt.
Yeah. Yeah,
Helminthosporium.
if you've got more than 3 days consecutive of reduced light due to cloud cover or extended rain, that's kind of a breeding ground for helminthosporium or leaf spot, however you want to call it. And
out here, I mean, we've had like 2 weeks straight of that.
Okay.
So that can also cause this, but that's also a breeding ground for also a dollar spot as well. So especially in warm season grass. And I don't know how juiced you had it going into regulation. Typically with Bermuda, there's multiple schools of thought on this. I'll tell you, I have never been one to run a lean program on Bermuda. I'm always set it on T for holy shit. The T is for holy shit, and that's I lovingly the phrase we used to use was snowing a lawn, because after we got done fertilizing it looked like it had snowed on it. And so that was like the levels I maintain Bermuda at, just so that way I never had to run into something like, especially if it's going to be under regulation, you can get out there and goose it to holy hell, especially since you control the cutting on it, right? You're not relying on somebody being there once a week or once every other week kind of sort of deal. And sometimes I would work with mowing guys, right? And if like someone told them that, oh, I only want to cut every other week, I'd go dump a 50-pound bag of fertilizer on 3,000 square feet, and then they'd be like, yeah, I think it's growing too fast to cut it every other week. You're going to have to
You're going to learn today, boy. You're going to learn today, because okay, when you're on
I'll tell you, I'm not saying that's the right thing at all. At all. That was my approach to it, and I think Ray kind of has on the opposite end of the spectrum approach to it. But he mows everything that he maintains, right? But I can tell you, at least from with the experience I have in our area, I always erred on the side of over aggressive with the fertility rather than under aggressive with the fertility.
But Matt, you seldom or almost never were doing this to real cut. Am I right?
That's true too. Yep.
Yeah, because my tendency is that if I have a turf grass area heavily regulated, I'm talking about max rates cutlass, for example, that's when I actually get a bit more liberal with my nitrogen versus if I were not regulated. Because if I do have it heavily regulated, I then go towards 0.25 to 0.4 pounds of N per month. I will go that high.
Wow.
Wow. And because without regulation, 0.25 is my absolute ceiling. And in fact, I consider 0.25 to be too much if it's not on regulation.
Yeah, I'm running about 0.5 a month.
Yeah, so if you're regulating, you're allowed, and there's one more factor to consider. Alabama, believe it or not, is hotter than Hawaii. So your growth potential is actually higher than where I'm at. So with that high growth potential, the grass physiologically has a need for that upper range on the N, to where 0.5 pounds of N per month is actually like right on the dot. Whereas for me, that's actually too much for me in most cases. So there's a lot to, calculate and figure and get to work, all together. It's quite a bit.
This is a good question right here. And Ryan, I think you can chime into this, because this is something that was being talked about the other day a little bit. I think you and Ryan Will were. Scott said his Waypoint analytical lab soil test came back, recommended 4 pounds in for a residential Bermuda lawn. However, when it was run as a golf fairway at a 1/2-inch height of cut, it came back at 6 pounds of in. And he asked, does the lower height of cut require more nitrogen to maintain it, or is it for turf recovery?
Definitely for turf recovery. The other thing they could be considering too is clipping removal, right? So you're going to get free return on 4% nitrogen, on those clippings, maybe 5 if you're lucky. And so typically that's what you'd see. I mean, I can tell you this is, cool season, bent grass fairways on a, 8-9 month mowing schedule that, we basically would cut out a little over a pound of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet for the year on fairways that we did not collect clippings on. So smaller par 3 fairways where you'd want to have it be a little bit more crisp and looking good, we collect those get a little bit more nitrogen, and then all the rest no. So I think also from a recovery standpoint, absolutely. I mean, on warm season, we don't replace divots, right? We just put sand back in there and then allow the Bermuda grass, or the zoysia to do its thing. And so in this case, I would assume that the lab's doing that. All this tells me now, big picture. Let's take a step back here for a minute. All this tells me is that lab recommendations are pretty much bullshit. You can take them and they're not even worth the paper they're printed on. So that's the whole overarching caveat here is your turf best, right? And it's always easy to put more on, right, Ray? Can't take it away once it's down, but it's always easy to put a little bit more on.
It's always easy to do more, and so here's how I'm actually figuring. My inputs is, do I need the grass to grow faster? Am I starting to get thinner? I mean, I ask myself those two questions, for example, when I'm weighing out the dose of Umax to go in the tank, Ryan. I'm asking myself every time, do I need it, or is this grass going too damn fast? Then it's time to pull back, the nitrogen if it's growing too fast for me.
You got a big giant mirror and a big giant razor blade you cut that all up with?
Well, yeah, it's called all I need now is the $100 bill.
I'm picturing Spaceballs when they comb the desert with the big combs. I'm picturing Ray with a big mirror right there and a big razor blade, just cutting up all the Umax to put in there.
Yeah, just
all right.
Just a little. Yeah, that's also the tangent. Yeah, but
it is a tangent, big tangent. All right,
but seriously,
so
N-rates are all about your growth rate, because I call that like the gas pedal for the grass. More N means more vertical growth. Simply, more N is more vertical growth.
Ray, have you ever known me to not do something 130%? Do I have a middle ground on anything? It is full throttle or it is idle. There's no in between. It's either gas pedal or full brake. It's either drive or park. There's nothing in between. I can burn through a clutch and a stick shift in 2.5 weeks.
Well, gee, man, I mean, you got to remember, I come from a state with extremely strict speed limits. So, there's no such thing as step on the gas.
Yeah, you're talking to a guy who's totaled 8 cars. So,
yeah, exactly. I mean, well, like I said, the difference in experience is, imagine you getting threatened with loss of your license for driving at 55 miles per hour.
Yeah, there's no way I'd make
Well,
it. Although
that's what
I
happens
don't
to
drive fast anymore. I cut that out after the bad wreck where I rolled the car. Mm-hmm. That was not
right.
That was no good.
That's not good. Fun. But then.
This episode of Scared Straight brought to you by Matt Martin's insurance carrier.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
What? So the leveling thing is interesting because I think a lot of people get into this and think they're going to do it the easy way, the simple way, the cheap way, and I don't know that there is. So I mean, what do you have a game plan yet? And do you have a sand source picked out? Or have you timed it up and when you're going to do it? I'm assuming now probably next year. I mean, are you still going to try and squeeze some in this year, or what's your thoughts there?
I was going to do it this year, and that was one of the things I wanted to ask you guys. With that dollar spot, is it a good time to even do that with that recovery that needs to happen? Since I'm going to be coming out of regulation here soon, so I wanted to utilize that extra growth with that coming out of regulation to utilize that to pop through. I already did the front last year, but I just did the front little section with 1 ton, and I'm looking at probably needing about 20 tons. I do have a sand source picked out. There's a place out here, Alliance Sand or something like that, and they actually have USGA top dress sand, and they've got analysis on it and everything. So I was looking at getting that delivered, and looking at other situations where we have, mason sand and stuff too. So I haven't narrowed down exactly what I want to get yet. My price might be a factor on that this year, but it is available to me. So, but my main concern was really, with the disease that's there, do I just hit it with some nitrogen and let it grow out and then try to do a top dressing, or should I just hold off and wait till next year? Because right now, with the Toro in the back, it's definitely not getting the smoothest and easiest cut because of the undulations and holes and just, fun stuff that I have out there.
Here's my take on that. Do you know what I want to do to lawns that have disease issues caused by excessive rain and too much moisture?
Scalp it.
No, I also will sand them because that sand will help dry up that surface. It'll help in the drying. I mean, because I know you know me by now, and that the two things that I suggest for diseases is if you're watering, stop it. If it's because of too much rain, scalp it. And going further than that, after you scalp, that is when you sand, because the sand helps keep the soil surface dry. And when the soil surface is dry, you don't have, that so much issue with things like Helminthosporium leaf spot and dollar spot, because the sand is, mitigating the excessive water from the rain. So, that would be where I'd go. And furthermore, that's why I'm telling you, I would not do any kind of hand wringing about waiting for the grass to recover from the dollar spot, because I think that sanding will actually help it. Sand and a little bit
at
of
this point,
nitrogen.
you're ready for it to grow back in, and it's got to grow back in anyway. So you might as well cover it with sand while it's growing back in and get all of it done in one fell swoop, and then you don't have to worry about it anymore.
And that's kind of what I was
that-
thinking. And I talked to our resident rocket scientist too, who says sand fixes everything, right? So that was his response as well. But I figured I knew this was coming up, and I figured this would be a good opportunity to at least discuss that, so I could know the why behind it, versus just saying F it and throwing it out there. So
Yeah, I mean, I think
it
it's
makes
going
a
to
lot
help
of
your
sense.
runners help your runners tack in quickly, more quickly than they would if it was just bare open soil. And then, I would agree with these guys that 20 tons is a lot. So, go like what Matt said. If you're going to do it, go full send for sure. There's no reason at this point to mess around with it at all. I would just go for it. So that ought to be interesting in the back then. I mean, when's the timeline for that? We're sitting here. It's August, like this weekend. So what's your timetable?
And
I'd
while
probably
you
be
do
this
that,
weekend or
J-Pink,
next
can you throw
weekend.
up the soil test one more time? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And J Pink, I got one that I combined of both the back and the front to compare the two. Yeah, both.
Ray saw the pH and he had some palpitations there.
Actually, I had a mini heart attack when I saw his phosphorus level. That's what
That was the beginning of the year.
Yeah, that was my mini heart attack, because 7.5 pH and 13 parts per million analyzed as Malic 3 urine.
It's a lot lower.
It's a lot lower.
Yeah.
I mean,
So I took your growth potential, plugged it into the model, and if we set a utilization rate of 3/4 pound of N as your max N rate, then you're going to need somewhere around 5.5 pounds in, 4 pounds of P, and 6 pounds of K, kind of based on what you're looking at with your soil test here. So it would be difficult to overdo it with this scenario you've got here.
Yeah, and
Sounds
I
like
sent you
Lawn
the soil
Burgundy.
Yeah,
test,
but-
Matt, early in the year too, and we had discussed a little bit about this, and we kind of came up with a plan of throwing the sulfur down at 5 pounds per thousand every month, and then do citric acid if possible, also on top of that, and then just hit it with 0.5 of some 111, every month or so. So that's kind of what I've been on so far. So the soil test was early on in the year, obviously, but so I've been doing that since then. So hopefully there's been an uptick in a lot of these numbers, and hopefully, after a few years of the sulfur and citric acid will help bring that pH down, and hopefully in turn the calcium as well.
Even
Yeah,
your 111
Oh
is
yeah,
acidifying too. Your 111, because
Yeah.
guess what 111 is made out of? It's usually made out of ammonium phosphate as the P source. So that's going to just help your cause there.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
being
I
in the
was gonna
South too,
say-
I was a little taken back by the 7.7 and 7.75 of pH, down here in the South. Usually everything out here is very acidic. But I was thinking the fact that we were on an old, probably farmland who didn't have any pine trees hanging over it for years and years and years, dropping needles, that might have been part of the reason why I was up high in the pH range as well.
Yeah, you're in
Or
that weird
you're-
area, like even Middle Tennessee running south into Alabama. That kind of vein is notorious for having a 7+ pH, and that it was weird for me to learn that too. I've seen a lot of soil tests out of Nashville that have been considerably higher than what I would expect them to be.
And it doesn't make sense then why all the stores just carry lime then. Just throw something at it, just throw lime at it. It's like, well, why don't you guys have sulfur? Why don't you have any other
Well,
options out
you have
there?
you have to remember how a lot of this got started is there was it was real popular down here on Saturday morning to have a local agronomist or a county extension agent that would be on the local news, and they would give people tips. It'd be like a garden call-in show, right? And you'd call in and you ask your questions, and they'd make these generalized recommendations. And I could swear the stuff that was talked about on those shows is still implemented to this day. Like, for instance, put down your lime in the spring and in the fall, put down your ammonium nitrate in the summer, and you're going to be good. And for a long time, I mean, legit, this time, I would say I'd say pre 2008, still walking into a Lesco. It was, I mean, that was what you found. I mean, you found a little bit of ammonium nitrate, some triple 13, and lime, and that was there weren't a lot of options of a 3004 or a 3016 or all the frou-frou blends we're kind of spoiled with now. What was it we were talking about the other day? The 24-511. I'd say for like the last 10 years, that's been kind of a catch-all base that you see pretty much whoever you go to. Helena's got one, TCS has got one, Site One's got one. It's your old standard 24-511, and man, you can get it by the truckload any time of the year, anywhere you want it. They'll send it to you, and it's just a floor staple. So some of it has been let go. A lot of it hasn't been let go. There are still a lot of the whole face-based agronomy movement began with trying to turn it into a TV show or a radio show that you call into, and you've got a 3-minute segment that you're talking to somebody, and you can only go so deep in that 3 minutes before you got to move on to the next topic, right? And so you kind of hedge with what are the majority of the people in my viewership experiencing, or what are the majority of the people in my listener range actually experiencing. And so while you in Huntsville may be experiencing that, to the south of you, to the east, and to the west of you, chances are you're probably dealing with the same low phosphorus levels. But on the flip side, you're dealing with ultra low pH. Like you cross over into Oh, you go south and then directly across is it Cummings, Georgia? I'm trying to remember what's right across the Alabama line there. But in terms of soil tests, those are some of the worst I've ever seen in terms of low phosphorus, low pH, and it looks identical to the ones you see in Virginia, in like the Roanoke area, Richmond area. Low phosphorus, ultra low pH, sandy as hell, but hard as a brick because you've got magnesium levels that are 400, 500, 600 parts per million. And so it became just kind of the standard that, do you appeal to hyper specificity, or do you go with a broader appeal? You cast a wide net, or do you hammer it in? Well, you're a STEM guy, right? So you want the specificity. You're an engineer. You need to know the intricate details. The rest of the world doesn't function that way. And even from a smart business perspective, right? When you're designing a product, and you want to release this product, and you're doing market research on a product to understand how much market capitalization can you capture if you release this product, how much of the market's going to end up being able to buy it. Well, if you isolate 75% of the market because it's so hyper focused, then that has to go into how much the product cost, and then once you factor that in, that I'm going to have significantly reduced sales because I only appeal to 25% of fertilizer users that are out there, and so already I'm capped at how much can I even produce? Can I afford to produce? And then can I turn around and afford to sell? Then you're priced way out of the market, right? Because somebody who's bigger probably already has a product that's in limited release in that segment, and so it's very difficult to compete unless you put all your eggs into that basket. So neither here nor there, but it's to answer your question, why you see that. That's why you see that is because while they may be distributing in Huntsville, chances are they're probably covering everywhere from Chattanooga, to beyond Birmingham, really. Especially if it's a little bigger independent place or a Ewing or a Site One, they're just taking whatever they can get from their other stores at that point, right? And so all of their stuff is coming from Tennessee down, right? Or wherever they're getting it, it's being trucked down, and so they're going to unload it at these various locations, and it spends too much time there. It goes further south and further south until it reaches its final endpoint. So, it's a very complicated answer, and I promise you, there's no one on the face of this planet that's been harder on distributors than I have been. But at the end of the day, ultimately, it comes down to business decisions. And while it may not be applicable in your specific instance to carry lime day in and day out, chances are for the majority of their customer base, it is necessary to carry the lime, and thus that's why they end up doing it. How about that for a PC answer, Demay?
Wow,
Starts
that was you
with
really
a
could
Y
have.
and it ends with a Y because
It just came to me,
Boops.
and it works.
It was brilliant.
It works.
It was so priceless. It was so clutch. I was like, yeah, I thought you had to have written that before because it was just
no.
it was
It just came to me. I was inspired by
good.
I was inspired by the person sitting across from us on the computer, Lawn Burgundy. He's got a sunny disposition, as he will tell you. But some of his memes, I do want to get into this for a second. Do we have any good ones? Any J-Pink, anything that we can put
Any
up?
safe ones?
That's not too.
Yeah.
Do we have any safe for work ones?
If someone does have one, they can message it to me and I'll put it up. But otherwise, I'm gonna have to rely on the Hive brain for that one. Yeah, I can't guarantee my brain will remember which ones are safe for you too.
No, that's okay. That's okay. We don't want you to be in standards and practices. You ought to have fun here too. So,
see if I can get him something.
Throw them up.
I did get one. Give me a minute. I'll get it queued up.
All right. So, what has inspired this creativity to, and I don't want to say mock, but more of a parody, right? Like, and Matt knows this full well, right? Like when you put stuff out there on YouTube and you put stuff out there, social media, whatever.
He
Like
photoshopped one of the members' names on there. Oh wait, why didn't?
you're opening yourself up to some form of criticism, or at least being made fun of a little bit, poking you a little bit, whatever. Like that's just the way it goes. And we've all had our fair share of that, online, in person, growing up, whatever. And if we didn't like you, we just wouldn't talk to you. But so take it as a sign of respect. Take it as a sign of, that we do like you at least a little bit, right? So if you're at home and you're listening, what are we chuckling about here? Chuckles.
I'm sending you some J-Paint.
Oh boy,
man, the first one I pulled up was just absolutely hilarious. Oh, what did I do with that? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not very good at the internet.
Lawn Burgundy has done some real fun ones, and on one of them, all I have to say about that Lawn Burgundy is I wish. Okay, I wish.
I sent that one to you.
Okay.
I wish. Okay.
Yeah, I got a lot. I got more coming in than I can keep up with. Yeah, bear with me here. I am efforting.
Okay, so just real quick, what has inspired some of this? Because this is art to me, right? I don't care if you're making music, you're making YouTube videos, you're making memes, whatever. Like, people only do this stuff when they're inspired, and if it's spite, call it spite. But what? that's.
I'm doing a historical search on all the images he's posted, and it's just funny. Man.
What has I guess inspired you to do all these? Like what is it that, like, you see something and you're just like, yeah, I got to make a meme out of that?
Something probably just broken inside my brain somewhere. Somebody says something and then it creates something else, and then I use Microsoft Paint to literally put it together and throw it out there. So I think that's part of the cool factor of it is it's not very well done. It's totally hacked together in about 5 minutes. While I'm sitting in a meeting, and throw it up on the chat with everybody. So.
Oh,
I did a magazine cover too for All Day.
I don't care who you are. That's funny. This is just good stuff. Oh, there's one. We definitely gotta see that one. No, it's, again, I think there's a lot of stuff out there right now that we take aim at. Jeez. We take aim at, and people get the wrong idea, get misconstrued and things like that. And all we're saying, folks, is, and I do want to preface this too. I do want not preface this, but just tease this a little bit. Hey, look, there's Matt and Truly. I remember that night.
Yeah.
It wasn't a Thursday, but
no, that was like a.
It was not.
Saturday,
it was a Sunday.
Sunday.
Oh yeah, it was a Saturday. It was a Saturday. You're right.
So
Saturday.
Matt, why don't you tell the folks about Turf Truth? Not who they are, but what they do, and maybe fill folks in that maybe have not heard or seen this, and some of the folks that they're taking aim at. Because again, all this does, and trust me, folks, we are not Turf Truth. Like, we were doing stupid, idiotic things back when this account was founded. Ray didn't even know what Twitter was back then. Okay, and this account is putting squarely into focus some of the things that we've called out. So I want to make it clear that it's not just us versus them thing. It is not an axe to grind. It's nothing like that. It's just other people that are of a science background and clearly much more academic than we are taking notice of this stuff and being like, are you serious? Is that for real? And this is where it's going. J-Pink, can we show the trailer, or Matt, can you kind of back this up a little bit and show everybody, everybody about it?
Hey, and I'm throwing links up in the chat right now if you want to take a look at this. And so basically, I was turned on to Turf Truth several years ago, and they are an unnamed anonymous academic that has taken it upon themselves to highlight a lot of the mismarketed products in the industry. And the way they take it is they'll take a topic, for instance, like gypsum, and will go through and sort out all the data that's been collected of how gypsum has been utilized, where it's been successful and where it's been unsuccessful. And then we'll correlate with the claims of a product, right? So if a product says, if you apply gypsum, it's going to break up your clay. It will improve drainage to clay soils. And they'll have a list of studies that you can read through that does show what the actual factual scientific part of this. And I have been accused here recently because of this video of being Turf Truth, and I can promise you I'm not. They have chimed in on the chat a couple times, and I think, that I think there's a certain amount of value that comes along with these academic foundations, right? And I'll be the first to admit that I think empirical evidence is also important. Experience is invaluable, and taking the time out of your day to sit down and quantify the different things you observe while you're out there and try and put an unbiased factual reasoning behind why you're seeing certain types of things are only going to help you in I'm coming up from the standpoint from a lawn care business, are only going to help you from the perspective of being able to deliver a better product to your end customer. From a manufacturing or product development or even a research perspective, it's valuable for me too. So that way I don't have to go repeat a lot of things that have already been done, right? Or if it has already been done, what kind of modifications can I make to a product? Can I make towards data collection or towards a different metric to measure that hasn't been previously measured in previous testing? So I'm not going to say that everything that comes out of Turf Truth's mouth, that if you have a disagreement with it, that you're an idiot or anything like that. That's not where I'm going, because you may have a specific set of circumstances that allow you to have success that may not necessarily align with everything you see in the study. Case in point, right? Like if you have a very sodic clay soil that's low in calcium and sufficient magnesium, and you applied a gypsum in this scenario, it may be effective for you, and it may not have been highlighted in the studies that were cited in this instance. So I want to give a very fair, balanced kind of perspective in that regard, and I definitely don't want to mitigate anybody's empirical evidence or experience that of different things they've encountered while out in the field. That's not my intent of doing this. However, case in point, I think it should be an opportunity now that they are taking a more active role. I would say, well, and they've been active. They've been really inactive over the last year or so. But with the idea of releasing video now is kind of the next step up, and I would absolutely just adore to have them on the show with us. I think it would actually be a great time, because we would end up cutting up, for a long period of time, just because I'm sure we all have a similar sense of humor since we work in similar fields and professions, right? But there's a lot of value to this, because so much of what is preached out there is faith-based agronomy with no scientific foundation, and is a lot of hope and wishing that we get sucked into, and we get sucked into hope and wishing because we spent a lot of money on a product, for instance, right? It's kind of like the reasons why we buy a product that Ryan DeMay outlined, and the emotional investment you put into it when you spend $1,100 on your pre-emergent, your bottle of Spectacle, right? And all of a sudden, and this is stuff I see, you spend that much money on your Spectacle, you apply your Spectacle, you have breakthrough on it, and they say, no, it's not breakthrough, it can't be breakthrough. And, all of a sudden, showing that more and more, this is a reality of what's actually happening out there. And I think Turf Truth does a good job of revisiting the old, revisiting the new, putting them all together and presenting them in a way that is very harsh. His or she or he, I think it's actually more than one person. They are not there to be your friend. They're there to call you on your bullshit and keep your ass in check. That if you have some sort of belief, to question it and explore it and dive down from a deeper perspective on why you may be experiencing those things you're experiencing, where you may have it in your head, oh, it's this special product I'm using, when in reality it may just be a simple issue like a nitrogen deficiency or a potassium deficiency that you were actually dealing with that solved it, and it had nothing to do with the biochar product you put down, if that makes sense, right? So that's kind of a long, overdone, over preached to death explanation of Turf Truth, but I highly recommend everybody go follow. I'll say this, even from my perspective, I'm not immune from being criticized by Turf Truth. And I can tell you right now, if there's any content I have out there that Turf Truth deems necessary to critique the holy hell, I delete it because I'm wrong. and it's not a fight worth fighting for me, because this is someone who is a very experienced academic that has a lot of research experience. The way they talk about different research, the way they cite research, the way they're able to recall research. You're not dealing with some random Joe Schmo who's got a mower and a backpack on the back of his yard and has sprayed glyphosate for 30 years. You're dealing with someone who has come at it from purely a very technical research perspective. And again, I want to make it clear also that not everything is going to align, because there's so much experience-based data that does not translate to the real world, but it is pretty damn close. It is pretty damn close.
Actually, that would be an interesting show, because
I know you would fight, Ray. Damn it. I know you would love to.
No, because here's why.
Duke's up, Ray.
Researcher, do you know why my red flags go up? Who funds research?
This is true too,
Matt,
and I bet $1,000 that's why they're anonymous.
Oh, yeah, and who funds research? Because who are they to call something crap or whatever when they're just getting funding money from manufacturer X versus manufacturer Y? I mean, because I know quite well the reason why, for example, they're going after our favorite surfer / pothead / dirt Jesus is because somebody didn't send money to that organization's way. That's probably the only reason why. And if it becomes when it becomes political like that, that's when I question whether somebody even has the right to call, something good and something bad, because then that is contaminated and that's corrupted. Okay? I mean,
it would be interesting to have this person on. I think, and I know what you're saying, Ray. I don't disagree, because you're right. Like, you can't be naive enough to think that there's not politics and money and relationships and some form or fashion, or all three of those things that are at play when things are said and things aren't said a lot of times with these products. And certainly this isn't life and death. We're not talking about, cancer drugs or anything like that. I mean, this is stuff to make your grass look better. So but you'd be surprised that, how quickly and easily feelings get hurt. And, Matt's been on the manufacturer side. He could tell you, stories he's seen, heard, and experienced himself. I've seen it from, the end user side. Ray's seen it from the end user side. Like it's a real thing. So, I appreciate that, Lawn Burgundy, that you can bring some levity to the situation, and I know that there are people that are triggered by some of the things that you put out there. And, if some of them, saw a wider audience, they'd be even more incensed. But I think it's good. I think it's healthy. It's, show me that your product works and show me that it works for the right reasons. And, just remember, like what we've always said is that, there's, I know it sounds corny and cliche and everything, but there's great grass on 6 continents of the world. They don't have all the same products in all 6 continents, right? But they do have good agronomy. And so I think that's something that gets lost on people a lot. And so hopefully, we'll have to reach out to Turf Truth's publicist or something like that. But if you do have the opportunity, click on that link that Matt threw up in the chat. Go watch the trailer for what's coming sometime in like early September. I think it's like September 7th or something. It is a very loud and forceful shot across the bow, for sure. There is zero guesswork in terms of who the season 1 plot line will be about. Can we play it with sound? No, you can watch it yourself. People can watch it themselves. Just
yeah, it is
really valid to say. They just say whatever they think will interest the audience or make it appear that they know what they're talking about, and what comes out is bullshit.
Yeah, it's real. So if nothing else, you haven't seen that yet?
I have. Yes, I have. I have watched that a couple times. When that came out, it was funny. I was in an area without cell reception. When I came back into cell reception, I had like 33 notifications. Everybody like, "Oh my God, did you see what Turf Truth put up?" I was like, "No, let me watch this." And then I watched it. And I think I texted you first, Deme. I was like, Lord have mercy. In fact, I think when I texted you, you had already texted me and was like, Turf Truth is coming out.
Yep, it's coming out. So, I don't know. Like I said, anybody that brings levity to the situation and can rise above all that, like, I can tell, and you can speak to it real quick, Lawn Burgundy, but I don't think there's any malice behind it, right? It's more of like, hey, if you can't take a joke, don't put your stuff out there, right? I mean, is that fair to say?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you can't, take the heat in the kitchen, right? You got to get out. So, I mean, if you can't prove what's happening and you get defensive when we come at you about, hey, why does this work? Why doesn't this work? What's the proof behind it? And you're just stuttering, then you deserve to be, kind of put on a pedestal and ostracized a little bit. So, I mean,
more like the head on top of a pike.
Yeah, there's different ways to do it. And
I got a fever.
And by the way, I have no objections about putting academics with a less than, noble and pure agenda, or academics that are corrupted. I'm going to be the first to put them on a pike, even more so than the commercial buy my shit people.
Yeah, and there's no doubt about that. I've heard you go on tangents before, Ray, on radio shows. I think we did one on a very, very acclaimed and esteemed professor who I'm not going to mention right now, but I will within the next 2 to 3 years. I will mention it. But there's a lot of people right now that are forging ahead. That are the kind of the next generation of pioneers in the turf grass industry, and I would lump Bill Kreuzer into that. Or how do you say it up north? Krauser? Is it
Kreuzer?
Cruiser. Yeah, it's Cruiser. I don't care what you say. Soldat is another one. I'm drawing a blank on the first one that I was thinking of. I love Kaminsky's Turfgrass Management book. I think that was a great book. He co-authored that with. I bought that. That was a good one. For people that are looking to get into this and are looking for a book, Dr. Kaminsky's, what is it? I think it's just called Turfgrass Management, isn't it?
Turfgrass Management. Yep. It's like the 4th edition. It's out. AJ Turgeon, Al Turgeon's book. He's wrote that all 4 editions, and Kaminsky was fortunate enough to be able to co-author that with him here the most recent time, but fantastic text. Go on.
Yeah, and so I mean, there's a lot of people that are full steam ahead that are doing. Oh, there it is. He's got the hardback. There are a lot of professors that are doing incredible work that are rewriting the script. Lump paste turf into that. Dr. Larry and his wife. And so there are a lot of positives, and I'm sure it is a real struggle for those guys to remain independent. Especially when the private sector comes knocking. And I'm not knocking anybody for going to the private sector. I get it. Under no circumstance would I ever want to be under the throes of a university by any stretch of means of the imagination. I think about one of the recent PhDs at University of Tennessee went to work for who is it that does PBI Gordon. He took over weed research at PBI Gordon, and I get it. I get it. When you want to make real money, that's what you end up doing when you have a PhD, right? So kudos to those guys. And there's a lot of good people in here. And I would say whoever is behind Turf Truth, they may be, and this is pure speculation right here. This is 100% totally pure speculation. Is they may be in a situation where they can't say the things they want to say because of where they're getting their research money, or they may be in a situation now where the intensity of the homeowner market, where it's opened up into so many of IT and STEM professionals that take things to a whole new level that probably just hasn't been there before because of resources like the Lawn Forum, right? Where these people can network and get to know each other and form kind of these larger communities. And I think a lot of them start putting pressure on people with these types of questions too. And I know it from my perspective, it sends me into a tizzy when I get 8 emails in a row that tell me I don't know what I'm doing. This is what I need to go do. Oh, you're so stupid. If you just went and put gypsum on the yard, it'd be so much better. Or, oh, you're so dumb. You need to go spray phosphite and get your K levels up. Or, oh, you're so dumb. If you just would have put down a turf painter of humic acid and painted it, it would have worked. And that it gets into my crawl, right? Because this is somebody who's maintained one property for 3 years, who's attempting to circumvent years, decades of science and, from my perspective, experience to tell me what I need to be doing. And it's a bizarre scenario to be in. And I've said it before, in the turfgrass industry, we tend to take care of our own because, one, it's very niche, and we are locked into a life of pain, misery, and not very much money, and so we revel in that misery together. We commiserate, right? And so we get very defensive of one another. And so when someone from outside attempts to rewrite the decades of experience and heartache and pain and blood and sweat and the shit that we do day in and day out, tries to tell us that we're stupid or dumb or we don't know what we're doing because they found something on Amazon that fixed it, that's been around since the 50s or the 60s, to moderate levels of success, as all of a sudden the new second coming, then we get a little defensive about it. And I would say that may be the position that Turf Truth has found themselves in.
I think it's a very good take. It's a very good way to summarize that. Again, I know we've done a ton of talking here, but I just want to say, again, Lawn Burgundy, thank you for bringing levity to something that people get very emotional about. We get very emotional about, as Matt just said, from time to time. And it's just funny. I mean, if you take yourself so seriously that you can't look at that stuff and get a little bit of a laugh out of it, or at least like crack a smile, something's wrong with you. Like something's wrong with you. So I thank you for that. Now,
I think Matt touched on it earlier too, saying that, you know, most of the guys that we deal with are engineers or IT, so we like to know the truth. We like that scientific method. We want things to be proven. We enjoy new data because it could it could create a whole new realm of thought, realm of thinking, a different path to go down, you know. So we got to be able to have that open mind with new data as it comes in, but then still stay stuck with the basics. You know, if the basics aren't working, then there's something going on. So do you need all these snake oil salesmen to sell you everything under the sun that really you're just adding a bunch more water and you're wondering why your grass is green? No, you know, stick to the basics. And if there is something that comes out, then we will, like you guys have said before, we need, you know, 2, 3, 5, 10 years of good research to really see the longevity and realistic of that product to be able to make it worthwhile. So I think we're just looking for the why and the truth behind that why here within the little community that we have. So
absolutely. Well, it's a great segue. Before we sort of wrap up here, is, you know, do you have any other questions? I mean, anything we didn't answer? I know we talked a little bit about your lawn, and we talked a lot about some other stuff too outside of it. But for your particular situation, I mean, I'm gonna just say before I tell you to ask any questions, is it looks phenomenal, man. Like, I know you're doing I know you want to, you know, level the back and continue to make big strides there, but I think it looks tremendous. You know, I think you've got a really good jumping off point. It's not like you're trying to correct major issues. You know, the soil test being what it is, it's workable. You know, it's not the end of the world. And so I just want to see, you know, what other questions do you have, or final thoughts or anything like that about your lawn?
My lawn personally, I mean, it's been mostly thanks to you guys, you know, and the Discord. You know, I took Ray and Matt's advice and yours too as well, Ryan. I went and got, you know, the two main chemicals that I needed for herbicides, you know, the chloric and the sulfentrazone, and I already had some 2,4-D kind of hanging out, and I've been utilizing those, you know, as needed, and I've been making sure my rounding is a little bit better than the prodiamine application. You know, in the winter, please. Yes, and in the winter, I utilized some glyphosate and sprayed out a bunch of stuff, you know, on the dormant Bermuda, and I had no issues. And I thought, okay, well, since I'm already maxed out for my prodiamine, you know, I forget which one it is. It's either sulfentrazone or chloric has a little bit of pre-emergent properties. So I'm going to go ahead and spray this out once I start seeing a little bit, and I'm going to hit that with, you know, at the beginning of the year, and that seemed to help as my spring, you know, pre-emergent setup. And I probably got 80 to 95%, you know, weed free. You know, I go out and I hand pull as I see them when I'm mowing. You know, if it's easy, I can grab it. I just pull it, and I walk the turf a lot, just being out there with the kids, and I go tend to all those trees because I put all those trees in this year too. Within the last 2 years, I put 43 trees in. So I mean, when I got the house, there was nothing, right? It was just grass. You know, it was just the standard, stereotypical cookie cutter house that they plop down and do a lot. And you know, we wanted a little bit of a space between us and the neighbors, since we kind of sit down lower than everybody else. We saw them looking over our fences into us, so we wanted to put up at least a little bit of a wall back there to hide from them. So that caused a little bit more problems with mowing. You know, going around every single one of those trees was just way too time consuming up against the fence. You know, that fence back there is south facing, so it was already getting light, you know, with the Bermuda because it wasn't getting enough sunlight. It was getting very thin and straggly. So I just said, you know, let's do what the yard wants us to do and what nature says that we need to do, and let's cut this out. Let's mulch bed it, make it easier for all of us, and I can spend more time with the family and everything. And that's another big reason why I decided to do PGR this year, was because, you know, I wanted to mow a little bit less and be out there a little bit less, maintaining it at the nice height of cut that the wife liked out front. And I wanted to pull that to the back to allow the kids to be able to run around in grass that was short and nice and firm. And I mean, one of my kids had a tick bite early in, like, 2 years ago, and it's still kind of there, it's still kind of plaguing him a little bit. So having shorter grass and everything was another big part of, going low, because I didn't want to introduce those kind of bugs and those kind of issues and the potential health side effects for my child too. So
Sure.
that was another big reason that we wanted to go that route as well. But I think I get a lot of great information from you guys, in the Discord, and whenever I have, a thought or a process, I'll spit it out there and, tag one of you guys or Ray or, and then most other guys in there are pretty well knowledgeable. I've learned that once I think I got a handle on something, another door opens and it's just this huge Everest mountain of information on this other product that I didn't know about. And there's always that fourth dimension that you keep chasing, it's chasing that dragon. But it's been interesting, I love learning. I'm an engineer at heart, so I love learning and doing tests. And, at the same time I look at it, I'm like, yeah, it's just grass. It's Bermuda, especially. This is just a tickle. It'll grow back. It's fine. I'm not worried about it. Give some fertilizer, give some water. It's, it likes the abuse, as Sean likes to say all the time. So, it's just, learning every year and learning what to do and when to apply it, and then taking some risks, So, I've been throwing out, like I was saying, 5 pounds of sulfur per 1,000, all 3 times this year. So it's, throw it down, water it in, and walk away. So,
hey, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Ray, anything you wanna add here before we get out of here? And I'll set this up too now so I can stop talking after this. For it's a good way for Matt to finish up and tease the show after, because a lot of what we talked about is show after content, but it's really all about the show after. So, Ray, take it away. Anything you have to say before Matt gets us out of here?
Oh, I just have to say that you have done an excellent job with what I consider minimal inputs. That's just what I'm looking at is, you don't have thousands of dollars worth of products. You're not applying materials every single week. At least I don't think you are. But at the same time, your lawn looks fantastic. No, really, your lawn looks fantastic. And of course, kudos to you for also being practical and taking out the part of the lawn that would just be a thorn in your side. And that would be that part of the lawn that goes right up to the fence behind the trees. Most people, or especially the people that I meet, want to desperately cling to every square inch of grass that they have in their lawn. When I tell them, you see that grass over there that's up to the fence and behind the plants that gotta go, it's as if I've proposed, ritual sacrifice of babies to them. But you've taken it on, and
we started off with swatting and we went to ritual sacrifice. What an episode.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to get us out of here. Check out our new podcast. It's called the Burn and Return Podcast. Whoa.
We got a little mailbag here.
Oh. My
don't
bad.
forget,
My bad.
This is our, Hone Health can be our mailbag sponsor tonight, right? Because
that's
you can
this
go
evening's...
to www.honehealth. Yeah, go ahead, do it.
No, this evening's mailbag is brought to you by our one and only sponsor, Hone Health. HoneHealth.com/the Grass Factor. Take your motherfucking manhood back. Look, it's super easy. For $45, you get set up. All you need to do to take a test, you prick your finger, you send it in, and then you sit down and you meet with the doctor, and they tell you what is up. I was stunned. I'm 34 years old. I shouldn't be this way. I am extremely testosterone deficient, especially for being 34 years old. It was like the average. My testosterone levels were for an average 65-year-old man. It's horrific. And but it's so exciting because I talked with the doctor, and the doctor, he gave me the phrase that pays, right? And you want to talk about getting me amped up and excited. He said, you don't understand, with your deficiency levels at your age, this is going to change your life. If you're tired of pinning it all on being old, you don't have to. honehealth.com/grass factor, $45. Let's do this. All right, J Pink, what you got?
All right. So this first email comes from Lone Goose.
Whoa, hang on, J Pink. You went haywire there.
You went to Mars for a second there.
You are still in Mars.
J Pink is a robot.
It sounds like you have a loose cable. But we've got a soil test here. And, all right, we did a weak bray. What is soil pH? 5.3. Why aren't we doing a weak bray with a 5.3 soil pH?
There's something here.
That's interesting. Very low cation exchange capacity, so we're dealing with some sandier soil. We did a strong bray too. Okay. We are critically deficient in potassium. Decent sodium levels. I'm curious what kind of grass this is.
All right, I got it. I'm going to read it for you here. All right. Hey, guys, I have a question about my soil test. I did a soil test preseason before I applied anything to the lawn, and I just did a mid-season test to see how everything is going. My macros went up, which I expected, but my micros went down, and so did my pH. I've applied 150 pounds of pulverized dolomitic lime so far this season. I have 5,000 square feet of Kentucky bluegrass lawn with irrigation. I've attached both soil tests so you guys can see the numbers. Any help would be greatly appreciated. Love the show and all the info you guys put out. Keep up the great work. All right. I don't know who that's from. We'll just call him Keith tonight. So Keith Stone. All right. Keith Stone. What? Let's see here. Yeah. Let him live. So let's see July 26th. So can we go back real quick and then go forward? Back and to the left. Back and to the left. Anybody? No. JFK. Oh, wow. So the K went up a lot. K went up over 50%. So he's moving in the right direction. But if this is me, I'm not even worried about the micro so much yet, especially at that pH, like 5, I guess a little bit, but 150 pounds so far of dolomitic lime. Where are we at? Yeah. I mean, you're just going to have to keep pumping that lime, dog. I mean, that's kind of where we're at this point. No. Maybe a little bit.
No.
You sound like two. You sound like two J Pinks. Did you have a baby with yourself?
Any better?
Yeah.
There we go.
All right. You're
okay.
There we
all
go.
right. I don't know what happened there.
We're live.
It was Lone Goose was messing with me apparently. Yeah. So he basically he's applied the kitchen sink since March. So here's his first soil test in March, and it would take too long to describe everything he's put down on his 5,000 square feet. Then there's his July. And basically, if you were going to give him 60 seconds worth of advice to finish off this season or even looking into next year, what would you do there? He also was kind of curious. I mean, again, he's applied a lot, so, I mean, we could break that down, but it'd take a little bit. He said, my macros went up, which I expected, but my micros went down, and so did my pH.
Ray, if this is me, I'm going to say stop the insanity. Stop the insanity now. Focus on NPK. Get your lime
and
correct here. Yes.
Yeah. Just stop putting down crap and just lime it first of all, and then worry about your NPK. In fact, if somebody has already acidic soil and they try to green it up with excessive nitrogen, that will just go sideways on them, actually. Do you know why?
Tell me.
Because all of that ammonium and urea nitrogen then just adds to the acidity and actually makes things worse. So the first thing you do is you always work on your pH first. I mean, and so whatever stuff he bought from whoever he bought it from, keep it.
Oh man. Okay, I'm sorry. I wasn't laughing at you, Ray. I just read what Brandon Falk said in the chat.
I know. I know. I was
laughing
at the. No, I was kind of like looking at that because that is an example of more buy my shit products, which, by the way, Green Shocker is simply a more expensive version of Scott's Turf Builder. Okay, that's all it is. It's just a more expensive version of Scott's Turf Builder. Because do you know how big granule size Scott's Turf Builder is? It's about an 80 SGN.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's 100 or less.
Yeah, it's less than 100. So this is just a more BMS.
I was going to say with this, I would apply phosphorus. If you're going to do any kind of seeding, that's the only time I would do it. Now is the time I would probably be switching over to a 101 and be applying that and lime. And that is pretty much it. You got to understand you're going to do better with a spoon feeding program just because of your low cation exchange capacity. So, frequency, lower rates, manage surge growth kind of sort of deal. Or if you want to extend that out, use slow release sources. But with that low CEC and already low potassium, understand you can dive into that a little quicker. So that's where the frequency of applications would be imperative, that if you are going to use an extended release, slow release fertilizer, you might still have to supplement with K in the meantime because your soil ain't going to hold on to it all that good and well. We good?
We good.
Any more mailbag?
We're good.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
So this one comes from Bob out of Southeast Michigan. He said, Matt, I enjoy your live shows with Ryan and Ray. I have some experience with liverwort and moss control that you could pass along in your next show. I sprinkle common baking soda on both liverwort and moss with great success for killing both. Just be careful when sprinkling near other plants. I assume it is the salt content, but I am not sure why it works. Roundup has never worked on me for liverwort. He also provided a link to an article that Rutgers put out talking about this, which I will throw in the YouTube chat here. As soon as I find the right tab after the whole craziness. So yeah, common baking soda, he says.
There we go.
High
and
sodicity.
Rutgers.
High sodicity will kill a lot of things because essentially baking soda is just alkaline and salty. Alkaline sodium. So not many forms of plant life appreciate that.
And then the final one that we've got is from Jacob. Hey, Matt, love the channel. We lost Ryan. Hey, Matt, love the channel. I recently moved into my new home in North Augusta, South Carolina, and got a soil test done. I was wondering if you could either bring back another series of videos on reading soil tests with the crew, or if you could steer me in the right direction. Also, it would be awesome to see you do videos on the Subvert line or Ryan Knorr liquids in the old white dry erase board format. I love those videos and learned a lot. As always, keep up the good work. So he gives you homework, Matt.
Yeah, I will try. I am so tapped for time right now. I will do my absolute best. So we'll see. I've got videos recorded that just need to be edited, and I can't even get that done. All right, everybody, we're going to be signing out. We're headed over to the show after the show. If you don't know about the show after the show, that's where we go live. But it is for members only. So if you want to be a part of that, I'm going to warn you, we got bad words. It's hilarious, absolutely hilarious. It's ruthless. And it's a ton of fun. But you have to hit that join button. I don't care which level of membership you join. Hit the join button. Sign up, because we have to keep this exclusive, because it is not for the faint of heart, and we don't want people in there that aren't as serious about it as we are. And then you head over, and I will be posting a link to the community Discord members only. And there we will post a link and tell you how to view the video, and it will be live for 10 minutes and 10 minutes only. And then after that, it will cease to exist. It will no longer exist. We will pull it, and it is gone into the ethos for the rest of time, never to be seen again. So you've got 10 minutes and 10 minutes only, starting here in about a minute. We'll see you on the flip side.